Welcome back. We are so happy that you are here, and we are know you're busy. You may be watching this listening between clients. You may be watching it as you open the salon. And we just want you to know that we are so grateful that you took some time out to be with us here today. So every week that we're going to have real conversations about leadership, communication, team development, and it really takes, what it really takes to grow as a leader in the professional beauty industry. Not perfect leadership, but real leadership, the kind of leadership that happens in the salon, in the spa, in the school, at the front desk, behind the chair in the treatment room, in the break room. And sometimes in those moments when you're probably sitting in a car thinking, how do I handle this? And today we want to expand upon one of our core leadership principles, and that principle is awareness. Specifically, we want to talk to you about how one simple tool, the tool is called DISC, can help you become a more aware leader. DISC is a simple behavior and communication tool that helps us understand how people are naturally wired and how they naturally lead, communicate, make decisions, handle pressure, and respond to feedback. Before we get into DISC, we want to ask you something. Have you ever found yourself thinking, why don't they care as much as I do? Why don't they communicate like I do? Why don't they just take initiative? And why do I have to keep repeating myself? If you've ever thought any of these things, you are definitely not alone. Honestly, most of us have felt this way at some point too. And we're here, and what we want to offer you today is that most leadership problems are not always people problems. Many times they are actually awareness problems because you cannot lead what you don't understand, and leadership starts with yourself first. Awareness is our first leadership principle for a reason, because before you can lead anyone else, you have to understand yourself and you have to understand how you communicate, how you make decisions, and how you respond under pressure. And how do you naturally lead? Because we're all naturally wired in a certain way. How you show up when things are going well, and how do you show up when things feel hard? That's what we're calling leadership awareness. And this is where DISC can be such a powerful tool. I personally like to think of DISC as a mirror. So it really helps you see yourself more clearly. And once you sometimes see that, you can't unsee it. I remember when I saw my first DISC report, I took my first DISC report, I was like, really? This is how, how I can see it. And it started to give me a language around this. And this is why we like to say you have to know yourself to grow yourself, because when you understand yourself better, you can begin to lead yourself better. And when you lead yourself better, you lead your team better. Now, we want to be really, really clear how this is not about labeling somebody. It's not about saying, who are you? This is who you are, and this is all you can be. That's not how we use this tool. DISC is about helping you understand where you are today, and so you can grow to tomorrow. So where do you need to grow tomorrow? Who do I need to become? And it gives us a language and an awareness. And it really helps you understand why certain things feel natural to you and why other things may feel more challenging. For example, maybe direct conversations come easy to you, or maybe you avoid them. Maybe you move fast and expect everyone else to keep up, or maybe you need more time to process. Maybe you love change, or maybe change makes you feel uneasy. Maybe you make decisions quickly, or maybe you need more information before you feel confident. None of these are bad. It's really awareness. And once you become aware of how you naturally operate, you can start making more intentional leadership choices. Now, this is where leadership gets really powerful, because most leaders lead the way they want to be led. And then great leaders, they learn to lead people the way they want to be led, so or need to be led. And this is where the shift is, right? So because your team is not made up of people who all think like you, maybe you want that, or maybe you don't, then they don't communicate like you. They don't make decisions like you. They don't respond to pressure like you, and they do not feel appreciated in the same way you do. And this is where we can get frustrated as leaders, because we start thinking, why don't they get it? Why are they taking so long? And why are they so sensitive? And Why do they keep asking so many questions? And why do they need so much reassurance? And why they are resisting change? Does any of these sound familiar to you? The disc helps us pause and ask better questions. Instead of saying, what is wrong with them? We can ask, what do I need to understand about them? That's that shift, that leadership shift we're talking about. Disc helps you understand what motivates people, how they may like feedback, how they may handle change, make decisions, how they like to communicate, and how they respond to conflict. And when you understand these things, your emotional intelligence grows. You stop judging so quickly, you start understanding more deeply, and you become more curious. You become actually, this is really true because I remember I became less frustrated and I started to become more intentional. And this is where better leadership begins because the more you're aware, you don't have to, you don't just react to behavior, right? A more aware leader gets curious about what may be underneath the behavior. For example, somebody who's quiet may not be disengaged. They simply may just need more time to process. Somebody who asks a lot of questions may not be challenging you. They may need clarity to feel secure. And someone who moves fast may not be careless. They may be wired just for action. Somebody who resists change may not be negative. They may need to understand the why before they buy into the what. Do you see how powerful this is? Awareness changes the way we interpret people. And when we interpret people differently, we lead them differently. Let me give you a real example here. One of my coaching clients was preparing for her employee's first 90-day review. Now, we all know that a 90-day review is an important moment. It's not just about checking a box, it's a chance to build trust, to give feedback, to recognize growth, and it's a chance to set expectations or reset expectations. So to have that great conversation. And it's a chance to help that employee feel seen. So as we were preparing for this, my client and I, for this review, we looked at the employee's DISC profile and we noticed something really important. This person wasn't motivated by money alone. Of course, money matters. We are not saying money does not matter, but for this particular employee, money was not the only thing that made them feel valued. They valued relationships, appreciation, connection, and they wanted to know that what they were doing mattered. They wanted to feel that their contribution was actually seen. So the owner made this small but meaningful decision. They brought flowers for that employee to the review. Not that the flowers were expensive. That was not about spending more money. It was not about making some kind of grand gesture. And it didn't take more time. It didn't require a complicated plan. The information was already there. The disc profile helped us see what mattered to that employee. And the owner was able to personalize the review in a way that would actually land for that person. The flowers communicated, I see you. I appreciate you. You matter here. And this is what emotional intelligence looks like in action. Here is the important part. DISC did not change the new hire. DISC didn't change it changed the owner's awareness of the new hire. And once the owner saw that what mattered to that employee, she could not lead that employee the same way again. That is the power of awareness, because when your awareness changes, your leadership changes. And when your leadership changes, the relationship changes and the communication can change, the trust can change. And this is why we love this work, because sometimes leadership doesn't require a massive overhaul. Sometimes leadership requires one small adjustment based on better awareness. And this is our favorite thing about DISC. And we don't use DISC to label people. We use DISC as a coaching roadmap. This is a big difference. Labeling says, this is who you are. Coaching says, this is what we understand, and this is how we can help you grow. That is how you want to think about this. A DISC report helps us ask better leadership questions. Questions like, what are these people's strengths? What's this person's strengths? And what motivates them? And how do they like feedback? And how do they build trust? And what might they struggle with? Where may they need support? And how can we communicate with them more effectively? And how can we help them grow? Isn't this amazing? This is just from this one report. For this employee, we could see strengths around relationships, consistency, loyalty, and client care. And these are beautiful strengths in our industry, right? Because client care matters, relationships matter, consistency matters, and loyalty matters. These are the qualities we want to notice and develop. And we also saw an opportunity for growth, areas like conflict, decision making, confidence, learning how to speak up, taking initiative. Now, that is not a problem. That is a roadmap. And this is such an important leadership mindset. When we see an area where somebody needs to grow, we don't have to make it an immediate problem. It actually is a form of information. We can ask, how do we coach this? How do we support this? And how do we create clarity here? How do we help this person build confidence? And how do we help this person use strengths while growing in areas that may not come as naturally? That, my friends, is leadership. And this is what we mean when we say awareness helps you become a better coach. Because as a leader, we're not just managing tasks, we're developing people, and people need to be led with awareness. If you remember one thing from today, let it be this. The goal is not to label people, the goal is to lead people. DISC does not raise your awareness so you can put someone in a category and say, well, that's just how they are. No, 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 no. DISC raises your awareness so that you can lead with love, you can coach and communicate with people more effectively. And when awareness goes up, emotional intelligence goes up. And when emotional intelligence goes up, leadership, believe it or not, gets easier. Not because people magically become easier, but because you begin to understand them differently. That is the beauty of this. You stop expecting everyone to be like you, and you stop expecting everyone to communicate the way you communicate, and you stop expecting everybody to respond the way you respond. Because leadership is not about getting people to become more like you. It's about understanding people well enough to help them become the best version of themselves. And that is how it works. And that's why awareness matters so much. So before we go, we would love to hear from you. What is the one thing that you could do this week to better understand someone on your team? Maybe it's ask better questions. Maybe if you've ever taken a report like this, relook at it again. And maybe it's paying attention to how they receive feedback. Maybe it's noticing what motivates them. And maybe it's simply pausing before you judge and choose curiosity instead. Drop it in the comments below. We would definitely love to hear from you. We believe that leadership is a journey, not a destination. Every week, we're going to bring you some practical tools, real conversations, and leadership lessons designed specifically for the professional beauty industry. So if you are committed to becoming a more aware, more confident, and a more effective leader, subscribe, join us next week. And if you know another leader in our industry who could benefit from this conversation, share the video with them, because leadership can feel lonely, but it does not have to be done alone. Together, we can elevate the professional beauty industry. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We'll see you next week.